Hi again. This is part 2 of the video that I said I would do regarding this wheel, the SRW S1 Sim Raceway wheel. In the first video I explained to you about all the various parts, and I said that I'd do a detailed how to sort of review, because it's never really been done up close and personal, if you like. So I thought I'd explain it a little bit in detail what I've actually done. So starting with the wheel, as you can see, the piece that comes from Spain is this metal piece that's bolted to this quick release bracket. And if you can see inside there, where I had to cut this lead, it was probably about, I don't know, probably about 5 inches, 6 inches, and I left it, cut it, and then put one of these plastic plugs on the female to that, using the pins that came with the kit. Very, if anyone's planning on doing this, be prepared to waste a few pins and to swear, because it is an absolute swine of a job. Excuse me. So I've done that. It's what they call the pro installation, if you like, where everything is wired so that the wheel can come off and there's no wires, there's absolutely nothing. It all works through the VGA connector in there. So that was part 1, doing that. That took me quite a while because it was the first time that I actually did it. And like I say, I knackered a few pins. I couldn't bend the wires round. The little metal tabs onto the wire that push through the pin to hold the wire, and then you just crimp it. It kept moving on me, on my pliers, and I tell you, an absolute bloody nightmare. But I managed to get it on, and I thought, oh God, this is just not going to work. But it does. It worked. You know, if you're careful, you can do it. So that's all tucked away in there. So again, the wire that comes off here, snipped, the plug put on, and then the wire that's already built onto this, which is that female, the male, sorry, this is the male, is already on this, so it just needs plugging in. So that's done, and it's all tucked away. So, excuse me, that's the wheel. I have tested it, I have run it, and it works an absolute treat. So that's that bit. And the bit that I didn't really need, you know, although if you don't, once you've used the quick release system, you really have to put it on your original wheel if you still want to use your original wheel, which is the G25. Excuse me. And that's, again, is the quick release mechanism for that. And obviously this went in a lot easier because all the wires were all made for it anyway, so it was just a case of unscrewing everything and putting it all back together again. So that's and again, this works flawlessly as well, absolutely flawlessly. I'm probably going to do a part 3 because I've had to strip my wheel down, and I'll explain why. I'll probably do another video showing it working on the actual rig at a later date. So that's that. Like I say, that's the reason why everyone wants the kit, because of the F1 wheel and all the buttons. I mean, I've got 2 button boxes on my rig, which you've probably seen on my other videos, and it's probably going to make them redundant. Now, get into the grind of this part 2 video. Now, like I just explained quickly, the wire that I cut off this to put the plug in there is now this wire, which you have to feed back through the G20. You probably can't see it, but if I show you, there's a hole, if you can see. There's a hole right down the bottom there. You have to thread this cable through the bottom, which you have to take, excuse me a minute, I'll just spin that around. You have to take this circuit board off. I didn't unplug anything. There's a few guys showing you videos of how to strip it down and to replace your encoder. Believe me, you don't have to take this off or anything. All you have to do is take the top off, take the wheel off, the bit that goes on there, take that off, unscrew these 4 screws, and then just take this plate off, and then you'll be able to thread the wire, which is this one here, thread that all the way through, and if you look, again I don't know if you'll see, but it just a pair of nose pliers, thread it, push it through until it comes out the end. That is what then becomes that USB, which again I've put the pins in, and because I'd already done it, I sort of got myself into a rhythm, and I was able to do it a lot better by using 2 pairs of pliers, holding one on one end where the wire goes in, and then with the other pair of pliers crimping it, and it wasn't spinning in my hands, and it was a lot faster. And all I've done then is just super glued. Obviously, you know, you've got to make sure that it works in and out. You know, you've got to do that, because once you've super glued this and one of them pins does pop out, you've had it. You know, you've got to cut it off and start all over again. And to be fair to the guy, he does give you about 6 of these plugs and a whole load of the little pins. But the video that he does shows you how to do that, so there was no point in me going through all this, because like I say, you know, I'm on my own here. I'm a one-man band. I haven't got anyone holding the camera for me, so I'm having to do it and then explain to you how I've done it. Now, again, going back to what I said about I'm not having to strip your G25 down. That there is the brass encoder that I spoke about that I've now fitted. Probably a better shot. Just there. Took a little bit of putting in, but again, people were telling you to take everything apart, and once you've taken this piece off, if you don't put it in right with that shaft, that gear thing that slides across, I think you can see it when I don't know if you can see that thing that's moving there, but if you don't get that centered properly, it causes a hell of a lot of trouble. So I took the top off and realised that just by popping this plastic cover that goes over this motor, unscrewing them 2 silver screws there, look, and making sure that you don't lose the little washer behind them, and then once you've got this circuit board off, where am I? Sorry. Once you've got the circuit board off, it just relieves the it just reveals the shaft. And behind that circuit board, there's a screw there. Let me just use this screw here, and there's a screw the other side that makes this all fastened down. Now, a lot of the times, it's just that you need to replace. These were fairly loose, so I tightened them down, and you know, like I explained to you in the first video, I did buy my brass encoder probably a year ago now, but just never got around to it because I just thought I'll wait till it screws up and then I'll fit it. But obviously, because I've done all this, I don't want to have to keep unplugging this plug to take off this boss, because you have to take this off to get this bit out, because this diameter here, as I will explain, it doesn't go through. There's a guy inside Sim Racing that shows you how to quickly how to run through this. Suggested to just ease that hole out, which is what I'm going to do before I put it back. I'm just doing this video for you now. I'd have liked to have done it with the case on and everything, but I had to show you that mod that I've done, and this will be another one. Things that you really should do if you're having this system fitted and you want to go into it at a later date. If you just, and it's only a matter of a few mil around that with a little Dremel, whatever you call it, stone thing, pad, I don't know, just to open that hole a little bit. You can keep this that goes over there, you can keep that on, and this boss that does all the work, you can keep that on, and you never have to worry about it. So I will do that, but like I say, just for this video, I just want to show you what I've done. So like I say, don't worry about stripping everything out and taking all, I mean, I've only took this wire off just so I could ease this off, but it shows you some guy ripping the plug off the bottom inside there, one that's on the back, pulling that off, taking all this off. And honestly, you don't need to do it. There's enough room for you to take the screws out. You can even screw these 2 screws I mentioned to hold this system in. You can even do all that while this is at this angle. You don't have to take it, believe me, you do not have to take your, it's so easy. So some of the guys that are on YouTube, they're telling you wrong, that, you know, stripping it all out. There's no need to do it. This is the best way. I'm just going to pause you the video quick and show you the encoder that I took out. Okay, this is the encoder. Oh, you can't see that there, can you? Let me put that on here, you might be able to see it. Where are we? That's the encoder that I took out. Whether it's going to focus, like I say, I'm only using my Samsung Galaxy 3. There's 3 tiny, whether you'll see that I don't know, but there is 3 tiny hairline cracks that go off in like a triangle, and I think the reason why that's doing that is because the centre hole needs to be tight so that when it goes on the shaft it just doesn't drop forward, and I think, or off, do you know what I mean? And I think what's happened over time, it's just cracked because it's on so tight. But anyway, I've tried to bend it because now I've got the brass encoder on. I don't need to worry about this, but whether they are cracks, I don't know. I mean, I've seen other people's encoders that are a lot worse condition than this, and this has been on here since 2008. Well, that's when I bought it, and believe me, I have absolutely thrapsed this wheel because I'm really into my sims. I've absolutely raked it, and there's, to this day, nothing wrong with that encoder. So it's a spare, really. And you get, these are the plugs. They're the plugs, 2 left. And he gives you, excuse me a minute while I just unfold these. Have to bear with my rubbish camera work. It gives you a strip of these pins, and so fiddly to put the wires through. That the V bit that you see, you put your wire through that so that it pokes out the top here, so that you can trim it with a knife. Put your wire through so that your cable is grabbing on, a bit of your sleeve cable is grabbing onto this longer V section. And what I was doing in the first, when I did it on that wheel there, I wasn't using a pair of pliers to hold it from this side here, the V side. I used a pair of pliers to hold that down, and then I was able to peel in the 2 little tabs that are in the middle over the wire to hold it down, to save you from soldering it. But because I didn't do that on the first video, I made a bit of a balls up with a few of them, so you know, but like I say, the guy gives you a whole row of them, and you can see how many I've used. I was supposed to only have used 8, I've probably used about 12, 13 altogether because I made a few errors. But that's what's left. That's what's left in the kit now, so it gives me, again, if I did happen to pull one of the pins off this, I'm able to cut all this off and do it again. There's plenty of cable, plenty of this, so I'm not worried about that. And then I can redo that. So that's that. And then this piece here, like I say, this goes over the, in a perfect world, imagine the top on, that goes back on there, and it only goes one way because I don't know if you can see, no you can't, there's nothing to tell you which way to put that on, except if I turn this way, when it's that way round, that's when it's centred. And I think it's that way there, that goes over the top, sorry, that way. And then the screws that came out of the original wheel, quite long, and they're quite hard to get in. I just ease these holes with a little bit of pledge, wood polish, just to make them easier, because you can probably see there I've just started to sort of pull that head round a bit. It's not quite across anymore. So they're able to go in a lot easier. If you don't, you really, you know, you've got to push right down, and then that fits through. You plug these two back in. That's for your G25. That's all, obviously, as you can see, these are what the guy's done, and they send you. And then that one there will then plug into that. You push it all through. Put that through this. I'll show you. I think I can show you. Yeah, that goes through there, so that becomes one unit, and then you just use the grub screws, and imagine that goes over there. Now, like I said, if you wanted to get into this wheel again, with that diameter the way it is, you can't, so you have to keep unscrewing them, and I wouldn't like to keep unscrewing these 3 screws all the while, and to keep unscrewing these. But I can't see any reason why you'd want to do that if you do what the mods that I'm telling you to do. You won't need to get into your G25 anymore, unless you're an absolute nutter who likes to go in and see what's going on every few months. Sure, I'm not going to want to go back in here. Now, what I did discover as well, this is really what you need to be watching out for, is I had to do some plastic soldering on the case. Looks rough, I know, but you're never going to see it, so it doesn't matter. But there was a crack. There's a thin piece of plastic that goes around this, which was coming away. There's a great big long crack down here, crack down that one, and a crack across here. So what I've done is I've got a soldering iron, and I've run down the crack, and then eased the plastic over it, and obviously spread it out a lot further, so that it got something to hold on to. And again with this was all. I did try originally to just use hot glue, but it probably wouldn't work. And it doesn't impact nothing. The case goes on, it fits on. It's not a problem. And I kind of went overboard really, but yeah, it was in a bad way, to be fair. I mean, again, there is a guy on YouTube that has actually made one of these out of aluminium. Took him absolutely forever to do. He's not obviously selling them because they just take too long. I would love to, if I can, get hold of another G25, an old one, one that's had it, and hopefully this will be alright on that G. I don't know, but it seems to be a fault because, like I say, there are people that are saying that they do crack. So I only discovered this when I had to do all this this wheel modification, SRW wheel modification. So just a little heads up there, if you're doing it, or if you go into your G25, I'm not so sure about the 27 because it's a lot newer, but this particular wheel is, like I say, 2008, and up till you watching this video it still works fine. But on discovering these cracks, I thought I better act now, because like I keep saying, once you've put everything back on, you don't really want to keep going back into it all the time, because you will wear these plastic threads out. So I'm hoping that I've stopped the rot, if you like. And obviously, if it does wear out, I've got all the pieces that I require now. I've got my encoder just there, so I've only got to take them out and put them on another one, or even fit them onto a newer G27. I probably will look into getting a newer one. And just a quick, for anyone that has got a brass encoder, when you take the original plastic one off, if you can see that gap, the plastic encoder fits right in the middle of that. But as you can see, the brass one is more towards the end. Now the guy that, I think he's Finnish, from Finland, who did it, he's the one that said to make sure that this brass encoder is further down the shaft, because on the back of this circuit board there is two sensors. Excuse me while I just get my screw. On the back of this circuit board there's two sensors either side, and on the bottom end is a black one, on the top there's a white one, and the guy said to make sure that the encoder is further towards the black one. And when I first put it on and tested it, I did leave it in the middle and it just wouldn't calibrate. It just went a quarter of the way around. It probably went from where it is now to just probably there like that, and just stuck, and the lights just flashed on the gear stick. So I thought, oh no, I wish I'd never bothered with that, because like I say, I had no trouble with the plastic one. But I just messed around with it and pushed it further down, tried it again, and it still wouldn't calibrate, and then I got to that one there. Camera's not focusing. And now it works fine. There you go, absolutely fine. So just bear that in mind when you're putting the encoder on. And it's very, very hard to put on because it's brass, so it really is a tight fit. But I don't suggest you use any kind of grease or anything, because obviously it will just slip over the shaft and you'll be having all sorts of trouble. You just got to bear with it and just ease it on, and just wiggle with it left and right with your thumbs, and it will slip on, believe me, it will go on. Then all you do is just pop this cap back over like that, look, which I'm going to do now. If I can. You're holding the camera. I'll probably just have to do a bit of manipulation, but I'll do that in a bit. So there, that's it. So there you go, really. That hopefully I've modified it as much as I'm going to. I'm just kind of hoping that this plastic is quite thick on the inside, because like I say, I did use quite a lot to spread it out. I will check it from time to time just to see, and if it is cracking, if it starts to crack again, then I will just abort the whole thing and get another wheel, hopefully a G27 this time. So that's it. So there you go. everything's like I said, everything's all nice now. All the 2 quick release systems work, and as I said in video 1, everything on that wheel works. The shift light's working. All the games, apart from the one I haven't tested, because the 2 light software that I've got, they're saying that they haven't got it working with the Game Stock Car, but I haven't tried it, and whether they have. But Game Stock Car is exactly like R Factor, so the plug-in for R Factor, if you're using an SLI Pro or a Bodner, Leo Bodner SLI device, which I've got one, the plug-in is exactly the same. You just stick that in there, and it works for R Factor. So I can't see why that won't work for a Game Stock Car, but I'll test it anyway and you'll see if it works, because I'll tell you, because I'm going to have to do another video now. I thought I'd be able to cover all this in part 2, but because it's I've took so long over this and wanted to do it properly, I didn't want to make any mistakes, so I will do another video with it all installed, back together and working. So I hope this video has been informal to you, informative, sorry, get me bloody words out, and it won't discourage you from trying it yourself. Oh, and on another note, sorry, I keep saying something else. Maybe I ought to have a bit of coffee and then this guy, Simu Large, as we call it, .com. He doesn't have any prices, but it's quite, whether or not you'll be shocked, it cost me nearly 200 quid to have it shipped from Spain for these 2 pieces, that piece and that piece, the metal, this and this, nearly £200 to have it shipped from Spain to the UK. So, you know, it's not cheap, but it opens the door now for me to stick on other rims, F1 style rims if I want to. I mean, obviously people are going down that route because these are quite cheap, but I'm telling you now, they're brutally well built, solid. The handles are a nice rubber grip. I've been using it for a good couple of hours the other day, yesterday, the day before this video, going through the whole thing, giving these rockers a good clicking and encoder, sorry, and making sure all the lights work and getting them to shift at the exact time that the RPM limiter comes on the car, and everything works. And look at the buttons you've got, so you can map everything. And that's why people are buying it. I mean, this cost me 37 quid from Amazon, and it's just turned it into an absolutely state of the art Formula 1 wheel now, especially with this bit of kit on. And it's solid, it doesn't wobble, you know, when it's on. It does stick out a lot more because obviously when this is on, if you imagine, that sticks out a good few more inches, but it's solid. Bloody good wheel, I tell you, this G25. Some people might say it's a bit old, long in the tooth now, old hat or whatever, but the force feedback effects you get still are fantastic. I mean, look at the condition of it now. I know it looks a bit crap there, but you know, it's everything's fine. It looks in pretty good nick still. And like I say, I'm going to run it now until it does go, proper go. And I think if it's going to go, it's going to come away here somewhere, I don't know, but I'm hoping not. I'm hoping that will be the end of that now, because like I say, I have gone overboard on that and really gone to town on the welding on that, so that should fix that. So that's the reason why we're buying these wheels. So I suppose if you add that to the price of this system, it's 230 quid. You know, which is the price of a pretty good F1 style wheel, which you still have to then try and get on here, quick release, because there are other quick release systems. So I don't think, at the end of the day, if you're a sim whore like me, and there's loads of us out there, if you're watching this video, you must be one of them, that will do this. Like I say, I've got 2 Derek Spears button boxes on each side of my cockpit. I don't know if I'll be using them. I really don't. But anyway, stop rambling and close the video now. So, like I say, I hope it's of use to you, should I say, and I'm going to see you again in part 3 of the video. So, thanks for now. Bye.